This week, we are talking about using the county's tax collector's website to check for back and unpaid taxes on a property and what future taxes you may owe. Before you buy, you need to know what taxes or tax certificates you will be on the hook for. You also want to know if the property is going to shortly be put up for tax deed sale. In this two-part video series, Bill is going to walk you through how to get information freely available from the county, as well as some lesser-known places that are free, that are at your fingertips.
Now, the tax collector website in my area does a pretty good job. It clearly marks for the last many years which taxes have been paid and which are unpaid, with a very large distinct word, paid or unpaid. And that's very comforting because you just want to be sure. And they also mark what's called certificates that were sold, and I'm going to discuss that. And they mark which ones are still outstanding and unpaid, and which ones were outstanding but have been paid. And that's just like back taxes. And you need to know that you're going to owe all this if you win the foreclosure, because the proceeds from the foreclosure are not going to go to pay the taxes. And of course, the taxpayer tax collector website is going to give you an indication of what your taxes are going to be into the future. And if you're going to rent the property out and be the landlord, that's very important. But even if you're flipping the house, you're going to be responsible for those taxes moving forward for however much time that you hold the property, whether that's 6 months to a year. You're going to be responsible for it, regardless of who ends up paying the taxes at the closing. It's going to be taken from your proceeds, so you're going to be responsible for it during the time that you hold the property. So you want to know. But as I discussed in my property appraiser video, you want to understand what the taxes that have been paid represent. For instance, if an owner-occupant is claiming that as their homestead and they're getting certain exemptions, then you will not experience that same tax amount into the future. Likewise, if the property sells and you no longer have the benefit, as we discussed, of limits on the amount of increases in assessment value that a government authority can increase taxes because someone lives in the property and claims it a homestead. If you don't have that protection because you're now an investor, your assessment value may go up in the future far more than it would for that homesteaded owner-occupant. So you want to get a feel for what you believe the taxes are, and that can be tricky. So you have to understand the tax structure in your county. So we talked about certificates. A tax certificate is a debt instrument that is purchased at an auction. And what happens is, once a year, the taxing authority of the county holds an auction, and all unpaid taxes from the prior year, they offer a certificate to investors who are willing to bid on them and pay the taxes. That doesn't mean they get title to the property. What they get is a debt instrument that is owed by the property owner. And what is bid on is not the amount, but actually the interest rate, or the lowest interest rate. Who's willing to take the lowest interest rate to receive the lowest interest rate on certificates. So in my area, it starts out at 18%, and then people bid it down 16%, 15%, 9%. You just don't know where it's going to go. But regardless, that investor, that high bidder on the certificate, receives a tax certificate, and the property owner is required to pay them the taxes plus interest each year that it's unpaid. So we're going to do a video on that also, but it's it's an attractive business. It's an attractive way because it is real estate backed. However, that debt instrument is what's called non-recourse, meaning that you can only go against the property. You can't make the property owner personally liable for the property. So if you purchase a tax certificate and as things turn out, you owe more or you've spent more than the property's worth, then that's your risk. You would lose. And how that is exasperated or made even worse is that after 3 years, the certificate holder is allowed to request the county to bring that to tax deed sale. And at that time, to do so, they're required to pay off all of their taxes, certificates due, and bring the taxes current. So you could see a situation where at minimum you might have to pay 4 years worth of taxes or be in for 4 years worth of taxes, which will that exceed the value of the property? Not sure. If you've kind of been bidding on it blind, you may find that that's the case. But the certificate holder has that amount of time to bring it to sale, or they can't bring it to sale before that. They actually have 7 years to bring it to sale, or the debt's wiped out completely. But you want to know if those certificates exist on the property prior to buying it, because you're going to end up owing it is the problem. And you also don't want to have a situation where you're going to have to maneuver quickly to keep a property out of the tax deed sale that you bid on. So again, this is just one more step. You've got to understand what the encumbrances are on the property that you're bidding on. So that's the one crucial step that you need to undergo when considering bidding on a foreclosure property. And it would be the case with any property that you purchase, albeit if you're going to a title company, the taxes are going to be, in order to receive a warranty deed and title insurance, they're going to be addressed by the title company. But again, any other way, if you're receiving a quitclaim deed, which we have a video on different deed types that you want to look up, but you need to go and investigate those taxes because they come back to bite you.
Be sure to join us next week for another interesting and informative discussion. Don't forget to like and subscribe and sign up for our live question and answer sessions. See you soon.